Hello friends and welcome back to another gardening video. Today I am going to share with you how you can get abundant blooms in your Purslane or the Portulaca plants even if you are growing them in an apartment balcony where there isn't adequate sunlight. Basically you need to follow these tips to get abundant blooms, and the first tip is about the soil, water and sunlight requirements. These beautiful blooming Purslane plants look similar to a jade plant, and these are also succulents. These brightly colored flowers add a burst of color to the balcony garden, and they also look lovely in a hanging basket. These can be grown in bigger pots and even in really small pots as I have grown over here. For the soil requirements, they prefer poor, dry and well-drained soil, and the flowers won't bloom if the soil is too rich or too soggy. Terracotta pots are preferred as it allows the soil to get dry, but I have grown them successfully in small plastic containers also, and my own DIY containers which I have made from plastic bottles. Water the plants only when the top layer of the soil is dry, and try to keep them in an area where it gets the maximum sunlight even in your apartment balcony. The more the sunlight, the happier the plants are and more is the bloom. The second tip is deadheading, that is removing the spent flowers and pinching the plant to give it a more bushy look and to stop the leggy overgrowth. For those who cannot identify a bud from a spent flower, the spent flower just comes out when you touch it, whereas the bud will remain on the stalk as it is attached firmly. You must remove the spent flowers the next day itself, because if you leave it for a few days, then these kind of seed pods will be formed. Over here there are 3 seed pods and 2 buds, and once these seed pods form, and if they are fertilized and are green in color, then it becomes really difficult to remove the seed pods. And once the flower starts making seeds, then automatically the blooms will become lesser. So it's always better to remove the spent flowers the next day itself. When the spent flowers are removed immediately on the next day itself, then the flowers are easy to remove, and even if some seed pods have started forming, it won't be mature enough. And next is this fuzzy tip, which usually we can see in the moss rose plants. Now these fuzzy tips will not allow bud formation to happen quickly, so it is better to remove them off. It's not that the buds will not form, they do form as I'm showing over here, but it takes a lot longer to form. And when you pinch it off, the new branches, as you can see over here, have formed, and these new branches form buds quickly, so you get more flowers in a shorter duration of time. And the tip number 3 is the fertilizer requirement. Although these plants don't need any good fertilizer or regular fertilizer, because they do really well in poor soil and the blooms are abundant in poor soil, still if you want to have really brightly colored flowers, then once in a month or twice in a month you can give it mustard cake liquid fertilizer. So this is the mustard cake, which is the part remaining after the oil from the mustard seeds have been removed. This you need to put in a container and put water on it. Leave it like this for a day or 2 until all the mustard cake gets dissolved in water, and this liquid you should dilute it and add to your moss rose or Purslane plants as and when you feel the need. Don't over fertilize or you'll get simply leaves and good branches but no blooms. So do it once in a month or twice in a month, and that is enough. You can also add the water in which pulses have been soaked or the rice has been washed, so that water is also rich in nutrients, and this water can also be taken and given to your moss rose or Purslane plants. And even if you want, you can give it banana peel fertilizer also, that is the banana peels soaked in water, and that water can be given to the plants. That also aids in flowering. But remember not to over fertilize the plants, because then the plants will just grow really nicely but it won't give you good blooms. So little bit of fertilizer and deadheading the old flowers are things which are needed, as well as giving them as much of sunlight as possible for these kind of beautiful blooms. I hope you found this video useful and I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and thanks for watching.